has a little white stripe down its back. That's the indicator on a Isthmian nymph. It always has a little white stripe down its back. Sometimes they're kind of faded out, but sometimes they're very bright, depending on which ones that you're getting into. Now these, if I were fishing this evening and the water was in the right condition, I would fish this up near the shore where the Isthmian nymph is swimming up to see if this is the right time and to get out on the grass and crawl out. And some of the most spectacular fishing I've ever had has been on with that technique, with the Isthmian nymph. So how do you fish this? You fish it over and you swim it. I'll try to show you here a little bit what swimming is. The nymph is in the water, and I kind of swim him around by pulling on my rod and letting him get into the stuff that is along the side. Let's pretend that you're covered. I get real close to the cover and swimming back and forth.
How close can you get?
I beg your pardon?
How close can you get when you're walking in to put the rod into the cover? Can you get 10 feet away, 15 feet away?
You can get the length of your rod if you want to. But I should add though that you have to be a very good wader. It's very important to not stir up the bottom, because if you do, you'll scare everything around away. So when you wade, put 1 foot down, make sure it's firmly on the bottom. Don't move it around too much. Move the other foot, and about that speed. That's the way I wade when I'm fishing with this kind of method. And they really won't hear you if you're very quiet. As a matter of fact, sometimes you can see them right there. The way I wade, and maybe another factor that is helpful for me is that when you're 80 years old, you know, you fish a little slower than the younger guys.
He doesn't put up a wake anymore.
No wake. No wake fishing. So this you just kind of swim it around, and the reason that you swim it is because Isthmians are very strong swimmers. They can get out and you think they're little tiny minnows swimming along the way they swim. Well, they just swim all over. And interestingly enough, they're one of the nymphs that preys on other nymphs. They will find and kill and eat like little Venus nymphs that are tiny little things, size 22s. And they feast on those things. And they swim around and they get them off the weeds, and they get them, since most of these things are on weeds. That brush right there has probably got some on it. We won't look now, but yeah, it probably does have. They're very prevalent, and that's the way they do it. Now, any questions about this way of fishing? You can do this with any big nymph. Stoneflies I generally fish. That's the ones like, if there's some yellow ones that get the little tails back like this. Generally, when fishing stoneflies, I fish them and let them just tumble down the river. I don't use a bobber strike indicator. I just let them. If I were fishing a stonefly, I would just kind of put it in the water and let it tumble along. And watch my line. If my line moves at all, I give it a jerk. Give it a jerk, and if you hook the fish, put it over your finger, strip it in. Now, if suddenly something jerks it out of your hand and it starts going down this way, and all of a sudden your reel begins to scream, you don't try to strip him over your finger. You go to the reel. Let me give you some advice about that. With a big fish, let him run as far as he wants to. Put a little bit of pressure on him, but not very much. If you put too much pressure, he'll break you right off. So let him run. As soon as he stops, reel in. You'll get him back a ways, and then he'll run again. Let him run as far as he wants to go. If he tries to get into cover, then's the time you have to put a little pressure on him to pull him out. Try to keep him in the center of the water if you can, away from the cover. And if you don't say, gee, I've got to land this thing now, chances are pretty good that you can get him. And he'll come back up and he'll try swimming upstream, just following him along. Be ready to let go if he takes off again, and he'll finally wear himself out. As a matter of fact, the strongest fish that I catch are 14 to 18 inches. They're young and they're wild and they are crazy. Now, bigger old fish, they won't do that too much. Are you?
I'm still young, wild, and old crazy.
Okay. Any other questions about any of this type of fishing?
If you're fishing the Isonychia nymphs, do you use a strike indicator?
No, I don't use a strike indicator. Some people do. Some people use a strike indicator, but I want them to swim. I want them to move around in the water in a natural way because they're one of the few swimming nymphs that actually does dart around like a minnow. A lot of them can rise in the water column, but they'll rise up and then they'll go back down and they'll rise up, and they're trying to make their mind up about whether they're really ready for sex yet. If they are, they'll take off and they'll go get in the trees and hide afterwards. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. You've been very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.